Titanfall 2 was the best first-person shooter of 2016. It is better than the Doom reboot, and it is certainly better than the Call of Duty and Battlefield entries that came out that year. However, it was released at the worst possible time, and it had a mediocre game come out before it, and thus it was relegated to being a cult classic with a dedicated fanbase, bordering on obsessive. It's got emotion, clever game design, and it is just plain fun. What if you wanted to fix that last part, though? Can you beat Titanfall 2 without using any ammo? What does that mean? Well, as a pilot, we won't be shooting anything with our guns, nor will we be using any lethal equipment. Our tactical abilities are fair game, however, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to beat one of the later missions. We'll get to that later. While in a Titan, we will not be firing the primary weapon or using anything other than our shield ability and melee. While not in our Titan, he is allowed to shoot our enemies, but we're going to try not to let him do that if we can. This, of course, is going to make boss fights very, very difficult. Our run begins with a pretty unfortunate start. We go through the movement section of the tutorial, and unfortunately, we have to shoot some guns at the targets to progress to the gauntlet. You don't have to shoot the enemies in the gauntlet as long as you run it fast enough, but I even tried the mission to see if you could skip the target practice portion, and you cannot. No, you cannot beat Titanfall 2 without using any ammo. After that tragedy, it's on to the first real level. We go into combat against a bunch of specters, and we can't hack them yet, but we can beat them to death with our bare hands. Eventually, we push forward enough to start the cutscene where Lastimosa makes the same mistake that Emil did in Halo Reach.
Who's next?
Oh, he's done. After Lastimosa's untimely yet avoidable passing, we immediately look for batteries to start BT-7274 up again. We use our cloak and melee to take out some of the grunts, then hack some of the specters to get what we need, and start up our almost constant companion in this run, BT-7274. His friends just call him BT, but we are not his friends, so we will not be doing that. BT-7274 wakes up a little bit, then tells us he needs another battery because he's still hungry. We go head over to find him one, and we try sneaking past everyone, but my cover gets blown and I just have to run past everyone. Eventually, I get him a big green snack, and I'm about to plug it in his snack hole when we get attacked by specters, who I hack to give us some cover later. I always wish there were more specters in this game because I love making new friends. I plug in the battery for BT-7274, and now that he's healed from the loss of his former partner, he finally lets me inside him. We immediately get attacked again, and begin using one of our only two options for dealing damage as a Titan, the shield, which for this loadout is the Vortex shield. We don't want to use any of our own bullets, so instead we're just going to throw the enemy's bullets back at them. Waste not, want not. Now, if you'll allow me to present why I should throw this IMC bullet or rocket into the enemy. I don't want it. The enemy is right there. Thank you. Now, I originally thought they weren't going to let me out of this section without using our own missiles, but we actually did get through. But then we had to fight our first enemy Titan. Alone, they're not too bad, but later on, there will be big groups of Titans, and they'll be a big problem. He went down pretty easy, so now we can move on to the next mission. We start out by assisting some militia pilots in taking down some Titans. Then we head into the sludge factory. I don't actually know what they're doing here, but they sure have a lot of sludge, so I'm just going to guess that. We hop out of BT-7274 and run around punching people until he starts having trouble dealing with the two Titans. This doesn't make any sense because he is allowed to use as much ammo as he wants when I'm not inside him. We dealt with the Titans together, and then I hopped into the control room where the game says it floods the chamber with toxic gases, but I can see the grunts on the other side running around just fine. Whatever, it's just an excuse to separate me from BT7274. I run around the facility where the game introduces its newest enemy, the Stalker. Imagine a specter that you can't hack and is big and slow and blows up if it gets shot in the right place or if its legs get taken out. I don't like them very much, but since I'm playing on easy, I can beat them to death with 2 punches. Further ahead are some militia members who are having trouble dealing with the stalkers, and I think that's just silly. They're not very difficult. I run past them, through a few rooms with just grunts, then up a big pipe to get to a room where they're actually going to be people that we have to fight. There's a wall of sludge that BT won't shoot through, and the game only gets rid of the wall when you kill enemies. Unfortunately, the grunts in this room brought walking landmines called ticks, so I ran around like a madman, punching the grunts I could, and not trying to stay in one place too long until BT7274 could shoot through the sludge and cover me while I jumped over to him. Next was our first major boss fight, and Kane was really annoying. The ads were pretty obnoxious to deal with, and he killed BT7274 once or twice. The problem here is that the AI is actually pretty smart and usually fires their weapon right after it senses that you've left your finger off the shield button, but before the actual shield goes down, so that way their projectile hits you right before you can raise the shield again. Plus, there are a lot of attacks from the Scorched Titans that the Vortex shield just doesn't block. And even if you could, sometimes the reflected projectiles just won't hit, even if you have the other Titan right in your reticle. Kane is also just really tanky and has a huge shield, so it took a lot to even start doing permanent damage to him. However, I eventually beat him using a combination of melee spam, vortex shield, and rodeo attacks where I hopped on him and stole one of his batteries while BT7274 was allowed to shoot him. We then take another shortcut through another factory that builds prefabricated houses, and I try using the Scorch loadout since the fire shield actually does damage while protecting me, but it's just not that good. BT7274 gets himself captured, and we have to go into the facility to find him. Normally I would stick around enjoying the fantastic gunplay, but I mostly just run through this section and make it to the big platforming part before the arena section. I nail it first try, then immediately start hacking specters because I'm not sure if my melee attacks can damage a Reaper, which is the new enemy that gets introduced here. They're big and powerful enough to wipe out an entire squad of militia grunts, which he does. My specters help me take out the first Reaper, but then the second one comes in, and I can't really hurt him all that much, so I mostly just run away from the ticks that it spawns. Eventually, they send in grunts to try and kill me. I don't know why they thought that would be a good idea. They're the easiest enemies for me to beat up. By doing so, they give me an escape route, and I just run past them instead of fighting them. Eventually, I make it back to BT7274, and we have to fight Ash, who has a loadout I'm very jealous of due to the constraints of this run. She has a big-ass fuck-off sword, and I want to use it. I take my anger out on her, and BT7274 crushes the smaller robot in his fist, while destroying the bigger robot. But unfortunately, we don't unlock the Ronin loadout she uses, or used, I should say. Next mission is the one that people always talk about in their video essays, and it's the reason why we are allowed to use our tactical ability in this challenge. Told you we'd bring that back. We head into the facility and high-five Anderson's corpse, since he doesn't have the time travel device on that hand. Then BT7274 throws a lamppost through a window, and we zipline up inside the facility. We experience some time dilation and avoid getting eaten by the shitty Avatar ripoff dogs, as well as avoiding being shot by stalkers, until we make it to the other half of Anderson's corpse and can finally time travel. The IMC grunts assume we're using some kind of advanced cloaking technology, and that's basically what it is, making this level trivially easy to avoid fighting in, because whenever enemies in the present get close, we just head back into the past, and vice versa. We finish the really fun platforming in this level and make it back to BT7274, then make our way into the control room where we pick up a Titan loadout we won't ever use, then make our way back out and run for the end of the level, where time stops and we can just move on. There's no more combat. The next level is one that I'm fairly excited about for 2 reasons. Number 1, we finally get our sword loadout and put it to good use on the IMC attacking the militia holdout at the communications center. Number 2, Once we get inside, we are told we need to get the arc tool, which is a ranged weapon that uses no ammo to fire. I race towards it, beating up some robots in the process, until I finally get my toy and can race back to my robot and go realign the big satellite dish so we can finally get DirecTV. We cross the evil fog in BT-7274, and he throws us across the big gap, where Richter sends a bunch of his forces to stop us, but he doesn't know that he can't beat. So we use the arc tool either to disintegrate the enemies or to turn on some stalkers to give us cover. However, eventually we have to fight a Reaper, and the Reaper is immune to my arc tool, and presumably also my melee. I don't know, it doesn't seem to do very much. Fortunately, we can just avoid him by running towards the satellite dish and grabbing the module we need. We head back to BT-7274 and start swording everyone before BT-7274 throws us again, we fall, he catches us, then it's time to fight Richter. He's a really easy boss. Some of these executions do use rockets or missiles or bullets or whatever, but I only press melee, so this is BT-7274 not following my orders. I claim no responsibility. Anywho, the next mission is largely Titan-focused. We break through the hole in the giant fucking huge wall of machine guns, but our allies don't follow us. We get a little bit ganked here, but eventually I realize that the sword core isn't using any ammo or rockets, and is just an electrical charge on our sword, which is built up from attacking other Titans. So, it's just static electricity. I wouldn't call it using ammo if I were to rub wool socks on carpet and then zap someone, so I think it's acceptable to use this core. We carve our way through the rest of the Titans, but we miss the ship taking off, so we have to chase them in our own ships in the next mission. Viper blows some shit up, and we have to jump onto an IMC transport to follow the MacGuffin. We take out the anti-air guns very quickly, and the elite squad of other pilots show up and help us take over the bridge, where we unfortunately have to fight Viper. He's not super difficult to start, but after a certain amount of health goes down, he starts flying around, and we can't hit him with our sword. I switch over to the Expedition loadout and use the Vortex shield, but he has such a small hitbox that even when he is in the reticle, like I said before, the reflected projectiles, they just go right through him. I then try using my burst core, since BT-7274 seemingly just creates 1,000 bullets out of nowhere that wouldn't fit in the magazine that he loaded. But on reflection, this does seem like using ammo. So I should have just used the Ion's laser core instead. You know the big thing where it's like Iron Man and just, Since it's not like a solid projectile and it doesn't need to be loaded. Whatever, it barely even damages Viper because he's moving faster than I can aim, and we can't build up another core, so we have to use our gun anyway to bring him down. You can kind of defend this by saying that Titans have infinite reserve ammo, so we aren't using any consumable ammo, but I don't think so. However, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't even break his shield with the amount of rockets you can reflect with the Vortex shield, so I'm not sure if anything else can be done here. If you can take him down on easy difficulty with only the sword and a Vortex shield, let me know in the comments with evidence, and I will pin your comment. Either way, I say we chail the phalange. Yep. Chail the phalange again. Sure. Print it. Once Viper goes down, we actually have to fail the challenge one more time by using legit ammo that isn't infinite, since BT-7274 knocks the covering off, and we have to shoot Viper himself ourselves. I use my pistol and shoot more bullets than I probably had to, but Viper goes down and we make it to the MacGuffin. So BT-7274 hops on top of me and makes me feel loved and cherished before we crash and die. We then wake up from death to Blisk holding a gun to my head, where BT-7274 whiffs the easiest slap in history and then gets shot for his failures. We escape with his data core and a smart pistol, which I would love to use because I loved it in the first game, and it gets infinite magazine capacity But once we make it out of this section, it goes back to having an ammo reserve, which can be depleted, meaning it is definitely not infinite ammo, even if you considered the Titan weapons to have infinite ammo. Speaking of Titans, we reinstall BT7274 into a new body where he has a cool new paint job and a loadout we can't use. We switch back to Ronin and use both our sword and the artillery strikes from the militia to fight our way to the final boss of the game, Sloane. She is a multi-phase boss, similar to Viper, where once you do enough damage, she runs away and gets other Titans to fight you. This isn't too hard, and eventually we fight through her goons to get to her. Then we do another execution where BT7274 proves that he is not our friend by disobeying my prime directive not to use bullets. Blisk then invites Cooper to play Apex Legends and tells us, no, we cannot beat Titanfall 2 without using any ammo. I would show you guys the real ending, but it's very sad and I don't want to emotionally traumatize you. You're welcome. Thank you guys for watching this video. It was a pretty quick one to film, and I always love any excuse to play Titanfall 2 again, even when the run makes it less fun than usual. I highly, highly recommend you guys pick it up for yourself and keep this wonderful game alive. I don't want the finale of this series to be a Fortnite ripoff. Man, ugh. If you want to suggest a video like this one, head on over to the Discord server in the links down below. We would love to have you. Make sure to head over to Patreon where you can watch the VODs of this challenge for free, and you get to watch my progress on the next project I'm working on if you join one of my paid tiers. Plus, you get a discount on my merch store. Thank you all again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.